because the food is in the room, but also you're inspired to hear from WSSC Water. So we appreciate you being here. I'm just going to do a quick intro for the team, and then I'm going to turn it over to our General Services Director. You may have heard my remarks earlier this morning to just relay how important it is for a water utility to really be on the front lines of climate resilience. There are so many things about the climate change, the climate crisis, climate instability, whatever you want to call it, that are impacting our operations, and in turn, it has a direct impact on our ability to serve. And in many cases, as we've seen this past year, it has a direct impact on our customers and being able to provide reliable water supply. That, among many other things, we have to make sure that our treatment plants and our operations, our facilities are resilient. We also have to make sure that our teams that are doing work in our communities are protected from the extreme heat and extreme cold conditions that they're working in 24/7, 365 days a year. We have seen an increase in water quality concerns that have come as a result of extended periods of drought, which are causing algal blooms and other things that impact water quality that our plants that were built a long time ago were not equipped for, and we're having to make those investments. So as we talk about the budget and things that we need to do, it's often said WSSC Water can provide safe, clean drinking water. But there are so many other things that we do, that we have to do. And just in the area of climate resilience, we have been focused on a number of projects to make sure that our infrastructure is climate ready, that we're thinking ahead to the future, and that we are on the cutting edge of employing new technology and innovation to make sure that our facilities are resilient and that we're equipped to serve for generations to come. And so with that, I will turn it over to our director. Allison Dunn-Wilson joined us not too long ago, I think maybe a week or so ago. And so she's getting up to speed, but she has been tasked with the enormous job of bringing our climate action plan, which we actually started preparing in 2023, to a close and getting that published so that folks know where we're headed, what our North Star is, and where opportunities are to partner with us. And we have a better understanding of where we can partner with others, especially those in community and especially students. And it was so good to hear from the student leaders this morning. And it reminded me of the students that we had interning with us last summer, who were tasked with developing concept solutions for a hydrogen hub. And when folks on our staff said, that's not really reasonable, not really possible, they came back to us and gave us 4 or 5 presentations with some astounding perspectives and approaches to having WSSC Water be an anchor as a hydrogen hub for our service area. Real tangible actions that we can take to get in that position, and we're excited about doing that work. Allison is joined by our Deputy General Manager of Mission Support, David McDonough, and Joshua Mai, who is our one of our managers at the bioenergy facility, to help present and answer questions. But again, we're excited to be here. This is, I think, a long time coming, and we look forward to working with all of you in partnership to make sure that we address climate change, the climate crisis, and the existential threat that it is. So with that, Allison, done. Wilson.
Thank you, General Manager Powell. Good afternoon. Lean in. So I'm literally gonna lean in. All right, let's make some room here. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. So this was I'm excited to be here at Bowie State to talk about WSSC water, to talk about how we are looking to mitigate and adapt to change. And it all starts with bold leadership. And we are here to talk about not only Real close. Okay, here we go. All right. So let me see if I can make this work. There we go. All right. So we know that overall climate change presents significant challenges for water utilities across the United States. And those challenges and addressing those challenges are really important, and those issues require technology, infrastructure investment, and public cooperation. So it can't just be us by ourselves. We need to do it in partnership with agencies in the community. And WSSC Water, as a provider of an essential service, it's our responsibility to proactively adapt and mitigate the effects of climate impacts. Adapting by managing the risks of climate change and its impacts, and then also mitigating by taking action to reduce emissions that cause climate change. So at WSSC Water, we established a climate change vulnerability assessment, I'm not sure what's happening there, assessment, adaptation, and mitigation plan. We did an assessment that detailed modeling of a 2065 climate-adjusted 100-year storm flood levels across our service areas. So what does that mean? That was a lot of words, right? So we can't look at normal today floodplain levels because we really do need to adjust based on what it's going to look like in the future. And we took that information and we overlaid it on our current facilities that exist. And we determined, how are we vulnerable? How are our facilities vulnerable? And then that informed us on how do we make decisions for our facilities currently, in addition to our plans for the future. I had an opportunity as we were preparing for lunch to have a conversation with some residents that live near our Piscataway plant. And they talked about, what does it feel like to live in the neighborhood around one of our properties? So it can't just be a utility-centric discussion. It really does need to be a conversation about community. And so when we went through that modeling exercise, it gave us two things. It gave us a vision into the future. How do we mitigate the future, and how do we put plans together? By, again, adaptation. So identifying the need of our most critical facilities and hardening that infrastructure. And then secondly, establishing a greenhouse gas emissions plan, an implementation strategy, and then what's even more important is not just the plan and the strategy, but it's actually tracking the effort to make sure we do what we said we were going to do. That fair? So as you see shown in this chart, the area we can make the biggest impact the fastest is through purchase or generation of renewable energy. About 73% of our greenhouse gas emissions are associated with the production of energy that we buy off the grid to power our plants, pump water, and power our buildings. So a plan is good, but action is even better. I'd like to highlight renewable energy actions that we've implemented to date. WSSC Water currently purchases wind, solar, and is actively in the process of purchasing a block of hydropower. We've implemented, there we go. Ooh, that was nice. Uh-oh, other way. Clearly, I'm not good with the clicker. This is definitely user error. See if the clicker works, because the, no, next. There we go. All right. All right, so wind power. We've implemented wind power so 1/3 of WSSC's power consumption annually comes from wind power. We've implemented solar at 2 of our WSSC water sites at Seneca and our Western Branch. And additionally, 1 remote solar site that's installed and producing with what is the equivalent of an annual harmful emissions of over 425 houses. Just think about that. And then hydro. We have hydro pump turbines at Rocky Gorge Water Pumping Station, and those turbines pump water from Duckett Dam to the Patuxent Water Filtration Plant, which equates to that's the equivalent of the emissions generated from charging 62 million smartphones. Just to give you an idea, because those numbers sound big, but I want to give you an idea of what that equates to. So we talked about a couple of things that we've implemented, but let's talk and turn to what's planned. From a renewable energy perspective, again, solar, hydro, and thermal. At Kiefer Funk, we've planned a solar array that's the equivalent of over 10,000 acres of U.S. forest in 1 year. And this is expected to go live at the end of this calendar year. At our Temple Hills Depot, we are planning solar, and we're trying to make the determination right now. We're currently evaluating whether it'll be roof-mounted solar or canopy. At our Anacostia Depot, we have a solar roof canopy, solar rooftop and canopy in addition to a green roof. And that alone is equivalent to harmful emissions of 95,000 gallons of gasoline conserved. And so this is something that's going to go live in 2029. And then planned, we also have planned at the end of this year purchasing a hydroelectricity block, which is equivalent to the harmful emissions of 46 million miles driven by the average gasoline-powered vehicle. So again, these are projects that we have in the works and that are planned that are going to make significant impact to the environment. And then thermal, which we're really excited about at our Anacostia warehouse and heavy equipment building. This is cutting-edge technology. It utilizes thermal capacity of wastewater to heat and cool our building. And we received a grant from the Maryland Energy Administration for this pilot project and are looking for other opportunities to utilize this technology, especially near the Anacostia waterway. And then the Potomac microgrid, where we're using natural gas-fired engine generators that will provide continuous power generation for 65% of Potomac's peak load. And the remainder of that power will be purchased off-grid. So that, again, that gives you a snapshot of some of the things that we're doing. We are also at our Western Branch and Piscataway Water Resource Recovery Facility are working through reduction of methanol with green sources of carbon. And then we have several energy efficiency projects, some that we've completed and some that are in process. We've completed a lighting and controls and HVAC upgrades and retrofits to 15 of our WSSC water facilities. And we also have planned aeration blowers at both our Piscataway and Parkway water resource recovery facilities. So again, it's not just plan, but actually action. And so we talked about our buildings, we've talked about our plants, but we also have to talk about vehicles. We have 23 vehicles in our fleet. So electric vehicles is also a strategy within our climate action plan. We have 61 charging stations with the plan over the next 5 years to add an additional 121 additional charging ports. So as you heard GM Powell talk about earlier, with our current and our planned activities, WSSC Water has a climate goal of 0 greenhouse gas emissions by 2045, and we are well on our way to get there, and I'm excited to talk through that. So we've talked about some high-level projects, but I want to turn it over to my colleague, Joshua, to talk about and highlight our Piscataway bioenergy plant. It is a crown jewel in our network, and you heard GM Powell talk about turning poop to power. So let's talk a little bit about that, Joshua. You want to help me out? Sure, you want to come up here? Excellent.
Hello, everyone. As mentioned, I'm a plant engineer at Piscataway Bioenergy Project. I was asked to highlight we have many great projects in the commission. This one with Piscataway Sorry, I thought it sounded loud enough. Yep. Scoot this up. Is that better? I thought it was loud. So I'm plant engineer at Piscataway Bioenergy. I've been asked to just go over a little bit briefly to high level what we do at the plant. One of the things you'll see on the slide, we make renewable natural gas at the plant. That sounds great, but you probably ask, what does that really mean? Why is it renewable, and where does it come from? So the best I can explain is at the Piscataway Water Resource Recovery Facility, we do two big things. We recycle water. So every day we take dirty water and we recycle it into clean water and return it to the environment. Historically, we've also taken the material we remove from the water, which with this being lunch, I won't get into, but you can imagine we take that material and we return it to the environment, traditionally in the form of land application, so this organic matter is returned beneficially to the environment, basically as a fertilizer, right? What we do now is we recover and recycle energy. This is new. This is, there are other plants in the US that do it, but this is a big project for us. And you ask, like, where does this energy come from? If you imagine solar energy, right? We have a solar panel, you make electric. We know the sun provides energy. We know the sun provides energy for photosynthesis and grows materials. It stores it as chemical energy. Well, a lot of that ends up going down the drain. So we are able at this plant to extract the remaining energy out of the waste material. We turn it into renewable natural gas, and then that can be used to power vehicles, to power generators, to make heat, and other ways to recover energy out of what was in the past a waste material or recycled. And it's good for land application, but that's maybe not the highest use of this material, and we certainly recover it at its highest use now with the production of renewable natural gas. So one thing that's important to remember that gets skipped in a lot of this is we burn this gas and it makes carbon dioxide. But remember, because this originally goes all the way back to photosynthesis of plants and vegetative material, basically food that has energy, we all know food has energy, it's gone down the drain. So the carbon dioxide that we release as burning the natural gas was not too long ago, in the past couple months, captured from the air in the process we all know as photosynthesis. So it is circular both on energy and on carbon dioxide. Is that a pretty good explanation of what we do at this facility? We're here to take questions if you want to get into any more detail on that.
So thank you, Josh. We are excited about what we're doing at Piscataway every day. God, me and this clicker. Goodness. It is very sensitive. So we want to open the floor for questions. So this is not just us talking to you. We want you to be able to ask questions about, because this is a lunch and learn. We did the lunch part, we did the learn part. This is the Q&A part. So this is the crowd participation part of the program. Are there questions? There are cards on the table, by the way. If you have questions that you may not want to yell out, you can also put questions on the paper. We do have hand mics. If people have questions for Josh or David to answer questions. Alex wasn't able to be here. She's out at the plant actively working. So she sent us, she sends her regards, but she's working. Are there any questions?
I'll ask one.
Okay, 1 second. He's going to bring you, Thomas is going to bring you the mic so you don't have to yell.
I was going to use my teacher.
That's the real voice, the teacher voice.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. So I'm with Prince George's County Public Schools. Our CTE program is environmental studies. So I'm wondering always about internship opportunities for young people to learn while they're in high school, and then opportunities for them to advance and sort of pipeline through as they graduate.
You want to give the mic to our chief?
Good afternoon, I'm Valerie Farrar, I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer here at WSSC Water. Thank you for that question, and that's very timely because we're currently working with our Prince George's County CTE programs, ensuring that we hire, or at least through internship programs, they work with us in the summer. They are referred to us from the CTE programs in both Prince George's and Montgomery County schools. And we are continuing to build and grow that pipeline. We're currently looking at how we actually are going to be able to get them from student to employee once they graduate from high school. So we're looking at our jobs and how we're best able to bring them on full time. So, but appreciate it. I need your information.
Valerie, can I add too that we have lots of jobs, not just in the environmental space. Not just in the environmental space, but also in fleet, in IT, in all of the things that makes a government agency run. And so, as you think about how to partner with us on, youth development and everything else, it's not just environmental engineering jobs. It's also, fleet folks and, like I said, IT folks, building and grounds folks. We need all of that, not just those technical positions. Thanks.
All right, we had time for one more question. Hi, friend.
I knew you were probably ready for that. You came to the table earlier. I'm a longtime resident of Acton Academy, and I'm also a long-term teacher at the school parallel to the plant. So my question, I actually have a two-ply question. That being, I've heard the data today, earlier and now. I'm glad that you're preparing for our long-term climate situation. But my concern is about the residents and the animal habitats that are right there where we live. I've seen the growth of your facility. I've been watching it. I've been smelling it. And I'm just curious, has there been an impact study for the residents and the animals? Because I've noticed homes that have been turning over because people buy them and not realizing that there is smell that only came up the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm gonna let that go and let you address that. Well, seeing as Allison just got there 5 days ago, I don't know that she can address this, but what I will say is, and I was not here when the project was conceived, so we'll follow up with you on any impact studies that were done. There's certainly for any new construction that we do, and this was largely funded by MDE, there are environmental impact assessments that are done, and we can share that information with you. We want to be a good neighbor, and if there are ever any issues or concerns, especially with odor, and I drive by our Parkway facility every day on my way to work, when the prevailing winds hit and the odors kick up, I reach out to the plant
We have been talking about, from an environmental justice standpoint, making sure that our facilities are not causing or overburdening communities that are hosting us, because the facilities have to be somewhere. That is where that facility was sited. But we want to make sure that we're a good neighbor and that it is not causing those types of issues for the community members around us. So if there are odor issues, we certainly want to know about it. But I can tell you, when I joined in 2023, one of the things that we recognized was that we were not doing long-term facility planning anymore. And part of the issue with that is we're not holistically looking at how we address issues and upgrade our facilities. We also were not investing in our treatment facilities other than the consent decree that's happening at Potomac and the bioenergy facility at Piscataway. And that's something that we need to do going forward. Part of the investments that we need to make at all of our water resource recovery facilities is making sure that we have odor control that's adequate. Also making sure that we are what I call infrastructuring, making sure that we can address future challenges, regulatory needs within the footprints that we have, because we don't want to impact, we certainly don't want to impact the environment negatively, or certainly animals and other constituents of the environment. I think the good news though is that we are putting water back into the waterways cleaner than it is coming to us. And that's part of a success story. I think that the Piscataway facility, the bioenergy facility, and there's the plant and there's the bioenergy facility, I think, which definitely need investment and upgrades. I think that has an opportunity to be a jewel for Prince George's County, from being part of the circular economy. One of the things that the students identified when they did their look at hydrogen is there is a potential to leverage what is happening at that facility to create more opportunity for a circular economy, definitely getting the community around it more engaged and making sure that it is part of our approach to taking pressure off of rates. So I think good things can happen there. It takes making sure that we are in touch with the community members to understand what is working for you and what would be a concern for you as we move forward. There's also been, questions we heard earlier today. One of the young students talked about data centers, and we're not looking to host data centers at our facility, but one of the things that we have contemplated as WSSC Water itself talks about digital transformation to close many of the gaps that we have. And we all, I think everyone in here probably has a cell phone. I know I carry two. We think about where is that data hosted? And specifically for AI, that data has to live somewhere. And so we are thinking about how can we be part of a responsible solution to leverage benefits of infrastructure investment in the communities, and potentially water reuse may be an opportunity to mitigate some of the concerns. So probably a little bit more than you wanted to hear in response to your question, but we will follow up with you on the assessments that were done, and I will go back and take a look at those myself to make sure that we are doing exactly what we committed to and what we were required to do.